please check your question answers and the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all open as of now.
Great.
Streaming on YouTube.
Okay, you can give an introduction now, Auntie, to all of us.
Yeah, okay. So actually, we are just going to brief everyone on the discussion of the impact of pandemic on micro scale, medium scale, and small scale enterprises. We have with us Angad Luthra from UK. You are managing a lot of properties, and there's Amrit, there's Anhad, who are into culture, and Sumit is into retail of clothing. And we have Tushar, who will guide us on digital assets and the business side of it. Johan, hi, Johan.
Hi.
So he will be also CTO of Cell Jewelry. So he will be telling us about the business side of design. So can we start with Johan?
Sorry. Yeah.
Yes. So what do you have to say about digitization and about Uberization of the workforce?
So fundamentally, this pandemic will alter the way we do business. And, labor productivity and capital efficiency has to increase. That's why, we're going to be using technology a lot more, reducing our fixed costs via partnerships, and probably using the omni-channel or the e-commerce channel to sell a lot more in the future. Till there's a vaccine or there's some certainty on the pandemic getting obliterated.
Okay, so what do you think that, I mean, are we moving towards localization instead of globalization now?
So, there's always been a trend of globalization, localization. But because of the geographic restrictions due to this pandemic, India itself will become a more localized economy, catering to its people who are a lot in number, especially the under 30, who are going to be 450 million by the year 2030. They're going to be growing a lot, they're going to be purchasing a lot. So, this could be our silver lining in targeting these people who will help the local economy grow, specifically catering to this local economy.
But will the manufacture and export from the global economy for the next year? How are we looking at things from a global perspective?
From a global perspective, see, a trade might initially have a hiccup for the next 2 quarters. After that, as you were saying, the human race is very resilient. So we will find ways to start the trade again. So what this localization would be a short period of time till the way we find innovation. And then what will happen is the markets will open up again, and then we'll be better off than what we were before, for sure.
Suddenly, like because all the exporters are now focusing on the retail market,
Yes.
and in which way there's, I mean, in the also, there's not much that people are buying in this whole time. So, do you think everyone has a chance to do so?
Sorry, could you repeat that? You're breaking up.
So, what happens is that even the export market is now shutting almost.
Yes.
So, the exporters are actually coming in to do their retail sale in the local economy.
Right.
So what happens when everybody, all 100 of them, are going to be here?
Okay, so talking about more competition within the local exporters in the Indian market. So what will happen is there will be some sort of product innovation and there'll be market niches created. So certain exporters will target certain niches. They can't go and target the whole market as a blanket statement. They will figure out what their niche is. They'll innovate their product and the pricing and target that particular niche, because India has a population of 1.3 billion. Even if you target 1% of that population, it's still 13 million, which is a good huge market for any terms. So there will be some kind of segmentation, there will be some innovation, and of course, to do so, they will try to reduce their fixed costs. So how will they reduce the fixed costs? They won't have full-time employees. Maybe that's what the term Uberization of the workforce will happen. Certain shared services also will increase, like certain non-critical cost centers like finance for a small company. They might start outsourcing those aspects. So they'll become more lean. They will try to save costs wherever, and they will target certain niches of the market.
So, Amrit, you can probably comment on this. That what do you think of the term Uberization, since you develop your clothing from scratch? So, I mean, do you have any pointers on this?
Yes, I think it'll be difficult initially, and it can't be like a quick process initially in India for us. And still we are channelizing our step. We deal in couture, and we have to go through a lot of steps, and with a lot of processing, a lot of people are involved. So for me, I think outsourcing would be a better option for now. And and then people be there wherever our karigar is, and they can do our work over there, from dyeing to weaving to embroideries to craftsmen, even stitching. If everything is outsourced and everything is it's more like a supply chain, a different supply chain happening over different part of area, it'll be better for us, and that way we will be able to give employment to the labor, and our economy is also still stabilized, and we are not even going under unemployment, because coming out taking heavy machineries and uh, going evolving would take time, and it's more like an experiment. It's more like an experiment. We can't just change our process overnight. It will take time. It's
Yeah.
a good concept. It's a future concept, but it's not something we can do it
Overnight.
just like that. This is what I think.
So, Tushar, since you are into the digital finance world, so can you brief us about how are you going to, capture the seller and the buyer and bring them all together?
Thanks, Anshul. So we are primarily our company, Digital Assets. We operate in the cryptocurrency space in India. And very interestingly, what we've noticed as soon as the lockdown started, we have seen a jump in number of signups. In terms of the people who are basically signing up on exchanges to do transactions. We've also seen a huge jump in number of transactions which are taking place in the country. This basically highlights the point that if you create a platform, or if you just make the platform available to the masses, your buyer and seller is already there. They will just show up. You just have to create the right platform. It has to be user friendly. I mean, obviously, there are financials involved, so you have to provide certain amount of security, ease of transactions. So all those things do come into play. But like Johan mentioned at the beginning of this session, we are still a young country, and I think that is one of the biggest advantages which we will have for a very long time. Yes, so we, as a government, has done, a lot to control the virus and its spread with the lockdown. But being a young nation, it will also affect us lesser. And I think this is why we need to open up the lockdown and start the economic activity, because digitization, population, flattening the curve, they're all there. Now I think it's time to start using these advantages, and coming out of the lockdown, maybe slowly and steadily. But I think it's the right time after May, that certain pockets of the country which are free from the virus already should start economic activity.
Okay, I think in the middle of it, Angad, you can probably contribute to this. You have over 9 offices in India. How are you operating out of this lockdown?
So there are two things here. One is we are operating mostly through remote client locations. Many of our own offices, unfortunately, are in what we call the red zones. I can't operate. But let me give you an example of what's happening in Dubai. We have our office in Dubai, and the government every morning at 8 a.m., no later than 8 a.m., through their social media various channels, come out with guidelines for that particular day per industry. So what is the relevant changes from yesterday? What is the high impact level? For example, retail would be, could be involved. So they will change
Angad, you're not audible here.
yesterday.
I think you kept up.
So
In
what
The
between.
world is changing so fast. in the last how many ever 3 weeks, as we've seen it. Is it better now?
Angad, your screen is frozen. Yeah, it's
video
better.
is
Is it better now?
Yeah.
No, still not good.
Okay, Angad, I think you're frozen.
Kind of lost Angad again. So Johan, you have okay. We'll go on to Johan again till the time Angad comes back. You're you're operating from a lot of places. Quickly after the lockdown opens up, what is your strategy other than the online digitalization aspect of it? Are you going to slowly start manufacturing at least?
So the idea is to slowly start manufacturing, but what we may need to do is expand our scope of products and services and increase our partnerships. Where what I mean by increased partnerships is share infrastructure. So suppose I talk about a store in a store, wherein originally I would open my own kiosk or a store, I would partner with other clothing companies to put my product over there so that people put less investment of their own and share each other's resources. So that would be one way of going about it other than selling online. So what we need to do is be efficient with capital. Don't go open your own stores in malls. Right now, look at partnerships. Use those ways of selling. Partner with as many people as possible. It could be your competitors. Competitors could become uh, partners in this type of situation to help each other come out of the problem that we are in right now. Later on, we could see how we could become more competent at certain things. But right now, I think be efficient with capital and get your labor productivity also up. So invest in technology a little bit and try to upskill your labor as well, I would say, so that maybe they can give us ideas on how to be more efficient with the manufacturing process. They're in the field, so the sales staff could give us ideas on how to sell more and listen to the team. I think don't you look at them as resources, look at them as capital as well, human capital.
So I would actually say that as a design-oriented background person, I would actually say that skill sharing will become more important.
Absolutely.
Whoever has whatever set of skills, the other person can actually put it to the table for a seller or a buyer or a manufacturer, and everybody eats from the same plate.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I would like to come in and say this here. I think it's a great time for various industries or various players in various industries to come together and get show strengths together, probably form associations or create common platforms to address the problems or the challenges which they face in their own industry. I mean, there are like what we are discussing, micro, small, medium enterprises. There are platforms available, but most of these smaller firms or units don't bother joining them. And I mean, if we look at the number of MSMEs in the country is a huge number, but there's no they don't really have a voice. I mean, yes, they might have some representation, but I think it's also what Johan mentioned. One can look at coming together even if your competitors, because only if you survive this will you be able to compete with your competitors in the market. I mean, if you don't survive this, then all that competition, all the infrastructure which you've created, or even your human capital, will get absorbed or will go to waste.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's more supportive environment, I think.
Yeah.
I believe that how all our generation started during after the war, after the war. I mean, everybody helped each other, right?
Yeah.
So probably this is the time where a small scale or a micro scale industry will actually be in the back end of the large scale industry. So there is no small and medium or large left. Everybody is
Together.
together and perfect in their own way. So the large scale industry or the medium scale industry is actually helping the micro scale industry come up by using their perfect skills.
Yes.
So if somebody makes you know uh, a building, probably buildings are not going to be made. Construction industry is going to be like really hit bad. So probably they would start making smaller pieces of furniture or I mean, a garment industry person would say that, we would be happy to help another industry, which is apparel.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think an overall collaborative approach towards business will have to be sort of created and put into place. And we'll definitely need more platforms to encourage supporting one another inter-industry as well. It shouldn't just be one industry. Like Johan mentioned, that we will have to increase our sort of database of the products and services that we are providing other people. We're definitely 100% going to have to create more products so that the demand and supply ratio remains equal as well. So because the consumer is constantly going to be changing, so that's where the collaborative interests have to develop.
hi, Angad. Welcome back.
Yeah, hi.
Sorry, it's Airtel for us. Sorry.
No problem. So we were asking you that since you are operating at a number of offices, how are you going to deal with the situation after the lockdown?
So we are fairly client driven. We are not, most of our work is client based work. It's very little is in our office. Our office is mostly back end. So our work mostly depends on clients' businesses operating and how they're operating. But I feel, I mean, a lot of people call me a pessimist, but I feel that, we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg yet, because we manage close to about 6,000 locations. Out of 6,000, and I'm not even one of the bigger players in our industry. In our industry, the guys like Group 4.
About your work. So most of us don't really know about retail. But what do you guys do? So you have a number of offices, not so vertical in the company. Can you explain?
So we are in the business of property management. So we manage client premises mostly. So from everything which is non-core, basically. So it could mean your cleaning, it could be your security, it could be your engineering, it could be your taxes, it could be anything. It could be your electrical, it could be your ACs, across the board. So we manage a particular facility.
Colony,
Manage the facility.
Yeah.
Industries which have got hit the most is retail. Malls, retail have got hit because there's just an embargo against you can't open. So you can't sell. So what I feel is the interior design industry is going to get impacted very, very, very badly. Because we have a small in-house project team that does some work. Banks aren't going to open branches. They each, for example, our clients are HDFC. They have over 9,000 branches. And they have 15,000 ATMs. But someone is going to that branch and opening it. Someone is doing the project management. Someone is designing it. Someone is implementing it through contractors. So all that's going to stop. So I think unless and until we have a vaccine coming in, which will, safeguard a lot of us, we haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg yet. Not even the tip. So we have about close to 9,000 employees. Out of 9,000 employees as of yesterday, I don't have today's data, as of yesterday, only 30% are working. And we fall under essential services.
But that's what I was saying. That, your product is a service required at this point. All the office management and all the business services are actually required at this time.
No, see, there are two things. It's a double-edged sword. These people are from the lower strata of society. They are from lower income group. So they don't have their own transportation. So while clients need them to come and help them sanitize and keep their premises secure, even small companies need, maybe a security guard. May not be 5, 10. If you have 10, you can do 3. At least you need that bare minimum to keep your place secure. And God forbid if there's civil unrest. A lot of this hasn't come up in the news. There's a lot of civil unrest happening across India. The news is only interested in what's happening with Sonia Gandhi and Arnab. But the ground reality is that there's lots and lots of civil unrest happening. It's happening 5 kilometers from my house in Delhi.
Oh, okay.
Which is near the Noida border.
Oh, yeah.
So for all the people that you are working with, You have those essential services parks.
Yeah. So the pass is basically for people who have their own transport. Bulk of these, the warriors, so to speak, they don't have their own transport. Where we have managed to get temporary accommodation, so it's a double-edged sword. As I said, no one's willing to pay extra at this time. Their cash flows are stuck, their businesses are stuck, their orders are stuck, their payments are stuck. We've had to invest a lot of money, which is way beyond what we earn from particular jobs, to house these people at critical locations. So we are housing them at temporary guest houses in the company's name.
Okay. Yeah, obviously the
company has taken over this, not the employees. Employees will not get access.
Yes.
At this stage.
No, and company is taking responsibility. That
Yeah.
The hygiene is maintained and
absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's what. So we are trying very hard to work with the government. In fact, I have a meeting at the Ministry of Corporate Affairs today at 3 p.m. Right now, I mean, literally in a couple of hours.
Just this way.
Yeah, it's about this same thing. If you consider us to be essential, then you have to consider us to be essential across all, not only in Delhi. How far is Delhi and Noida? How far is Delhi and Gurgaon? How far is Delhi and Faridabad? 15, 20 kilometers from either side. So, so we need to be accessible to help. For example, we manage Apollo hospitals. And Apollo Hospitals is working full time. But we are only operating 20%. So that's the big hit. And the other thing which I feel which is going to come and hit us really bad is the payments. Yes. Right now, we need to make payroll. I'm sure everyone else also would be having this problem at various different magnitudes. We need to make payroll. We need to cut payroll on the 6th of April and the 7th of April, which we have done for March. And companies can absorb a week of salaries since the lockdown. I heard Amit speak about she's got karigars, etc. So if I know how the industry works, they get paid on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis.
Yeah,
or bi-monthly.
Monthly. Sorry.
So they are paid more frequently. Because of the nature of the industry, they are not under the guidelines or not covered under ESI or Provident Fund. They are more like daily wage earners. So they are away from any government. If they give out a package, they will not be a part of this package. That's why. So one thing is knowing what is coming, and being prepared for it, and not being seen as a pessimist then, because we can see that the big tsunami is going to hit us. May not be in the month of April or May, but in the month of June, through lack of economic activity, we all will be hit. We thus better be prepared as part of the MSME sector. 6 crore companies in the MSME employing 12 crore people. That's the numbers which I had researched for this call. That's numbers that we sort of contribute, and we contribute close to 60% of manufacturing in India. So if this sector is hit, every sector will be hit.
Yeah, so you are actually dealing with all the sectors together. I mean, in terms of scale, you're dealing with from micro to medium scale sectors. You are dealing with everybody. So, I mean, Tushar, you and Johan, I think all of us are dealing with all sectors in terms of clientele.
Yes.
So, I have two questions for everybody. So, we have a question. In the current status, the earliest vaccine is expected to come out in September and released in December 2020. The current business challenges for MSME are extremely hard maintenance with little revenue and requirement to pay salaries. Again, so what are the steps and strategy that as an MSME industry we need to survive? What can we do together to ask for support of the government?
So I can help answer that, if I may, if I'm permitted. So the union minister involved in who's heading MSME is Mr. Nitin Gadkari. So only a few days ago, from the MSME sector, a complete proposition has gone to him on how to release funds to the MSME sector. just literally 2 or 3 days ago. So the government, even though I'm the one who said no government bashing, but the government has to now step in and provide an economic stimulus package, because they can't expect companies to constantly make payroll, constantly make rent, etc., and pay, and and have cost of labor, cost of raw materials, and be capped on an income. So you can't control my expense and then limit my income. It doesn't work for any business person in anywhere in the world. So one is the government has to come in, and a letter has gone to them. Second is, as individual business owners, relatively smaller business owners than the corporates, we must be mindful of cash flow, because today what is more important is cash is more important than a contract. The way it is seen, because today if a contract is not executed, there's a force majeure clause under the Epidemic Act, which many people are using. So even if you can't execute a contract, clients will understand because of this reason. So it is more important for all of us to have collected any outstanding dues, anything that's there. If you have cash in the bank, you can make payroll, you can do so many things, you can sustain your livelihood. If you are living today, you can fight again after 3 weeks, after 6 weeks, right? Because we are literally more senior on the food chain than a lot of our workers are.
Yeah.
The second thing is we must cut costs. It's a time of frugality. Any sort of costs that are not required need to be sort of let go of. And the fourth thing and the most important thing is the level of frugality that we achieve, right? We must be willing to cut everything that is luxury.
Which means
Lot of will not be very happy with my
but
Yeah, I think Angad, you're stirring the pot too much now by making that statement.
yeah. So
to cut down on luxury.
so they're gonna come and attack me now. But that's what it is. So so that's the challenge that we have as a business owner myself. I will be cutting costs for me to sustain. If I, as a business, can sell myself as a value creator today, something which Tushar had said earlier, I will be in business.
Yeah.
And the same thing holds true for all my respected panelists as well. In your same line of business and industry, if you are able to innovate and provide more value than competition today, that's how you rise in a time of crisis, apart from disinvesting and everything else.
So Johan, Anhad, would you like to comment on this? Yes, Anhad.
I'll take up on the last point that Angad mentioned. I think you're absolutely right. We've got a lot of intensive, challenges coming in front of us in the next couple of months. But I think first and foremost, we should all, as business owners, as brands, as very intelligent individuals, should also kind of have a little bit of a hopeful and a positive approach to what's coming to us. I think that's a very, very key pertinent point. I completely understand that we've got very, very challenging times coming, but I think patience is going to be a very, very important thing that all of us will have to work on. And definitely the word luxury, we have to definitely redefine it and kind of create it into a way where we understand luxury as more value driven products. So luxury should not just be looked at as something which is giving you a high class status or something. It should be given that it should be able to be passed on to the next generation. So I'm in the interior design industry, so we as a brand ethos, as a DNA, over the past so many years, we've always been yearning towards creating products that are going to last you a lifetime, irrespective of pandemic, no pandemic. So I think an entire purpose of the brand has to change, and I think that's where we need to understand that luxury is not an essential commodity, but definitely a value. So if the consumer has to spend some money, he might as well spend it on something more valuable. And the moment there's something valuable, it's going to be luxury for sure. So I think the redefinition of the word luxury is very, very key, and being patient and positive is also very, very important. That's what I think.
Absolutely agree with you.
Absolutely, I agree.
We are a very aspirational people. the Indians. That's why, the nano failed in India, because it didn't, the middle class didn't aspire to buy it, they rather aspire to buy a better bike.
Exactly.
So we pivot that luxury to something that is aspirational, with a slightly different value proposition. Brands can, and certain other luxury people can pivot and still be relevant in this market.
Absolutely.
I think a very interesting point there, Johan. I'm too optimistic about how things will be post lockdown or post when things settle down. But I think one of the challenges which all industries or all sectors will have to look at would be to meet the renewed demand.
Exactly.
Like Angan mentioned, that they have only 30% of the workforce operating, and what their services they're providing is actually very essential. Once things settle down, we are going to see a huge spike in demand for products and services, whether it's essential or non-essential, and I think even luxury, because as Johan you mentioned, whenever you go through hard times, there will be a whole strata of the population which would want to come out and spend even more to feel better. I mean,
Yes.
no matter what people say, women's high is when they go out shopping or when you go buy stuff, you do feel happy. Maybe in the short term, but ultimately you do feel happy. And I think happiness is very important, when you go through a situation like this. And I think one of the challenges, huge challenges, would be to meet that sudden spike in demand for
Yes.
services, products, almost everything.
So
I think industries should
Absolutely.
prepare for that as well.
I think we all agree with the point.
Absolutely.
So that is the reason,
I mean,
if I may
people
say,
are going to
that
get
is the reason we are working for the future brands, like the future season. Even company like Gucci and big company, big brands, they are not working for their production. They're working actually for the design team. The entire design team is working at home, looking for prints, embroideries. Even the Karigar back there, they're so supportive. They commute like we are doing in Zoom, and they keep on doing sampling. So the entire design fashion industry is prepared with the design. And the moment, even if the big companies, they work with outsourcing with China. Even China is waiting for the productions, and so like we also can do the same thing, and we're actually doing the same thing in India. Our production line is here, so we have to just work on our design, and we have to be very optimistic about it. And like the Shah said, yes, shopping makes us very happy. Even being a fashion designer, I am staying at home for 1 month, and I am looking at my interiors, and I'm thinking I should do my interiors again. I'm looking at like, yes. And I'm like, oh, okay, I have to wash my clothes, and I have to wash my button, and also I'm thinking, why can't I have a dishwasher? Why can't I have a better equipment for my kitchen? If anything happens again, I'll be well equipped again.
Yeah, no, you're so right. Absolutely. The concept of the home has become very, very important. And I think we really need to address that. We need to understand, like Angad had mentioned, that the interior design industry will be hit. But I think this whole time has given us so much of, breathing and thinking space in our minds, that we've actually opened up to a lot of essentials, simple essentials that might be so important to us in the future. And that, yes, it is going to involve expenditure and demand. So I think we're looking at it positively.
Yes, we just have to be very creative how to do it, and we as a artistic and design people in India and even the country, so we are more challenged now, because we are thinking our creative aspect, what to do, what to have a solution, because we are being challenged now, and every time any revolution comes, the artists are always being challenged.
Absolutely. So we have a question from Kashish. It is important that the Ministry of MSME draws up a policy framework with multiple scenarios for continued business operations, commensurate to the spread of the virus. Uncle, would you like to
I'm just reading through the question so I can answer it appropriately.
So basically,
this question is from Kashish Kaushal, if I'm reading his name correctly. Yeah, so he's made very pertinent points. Like I said in my brief discussion earlier, that the MSME organization as a whole has put out
various sort of suggestions to the government what they should do and how they should implement. So far, as of yesterday, they have earmarked 20,000 crores for the MSME sector as of now. But they haven't, in typical red tape bureaucracy, you have to sign one form, from one form to the ministry to another form, all that's going to happen. So the MSME has written back stating that everything, they have the GST details for every single MSME who's there. Anyone who has paid, they know the income group divided by 1.18, you will get your what your gross margins are. Based on that, you can get paid a certain value is what the MSME sector has asked the government. And for that, the government has said 20,000 crores is what is available to you. There's a writ petition filed in the Supreme Court stating that no government under the Disaster Management Act, which has been quoted now, can enforce employers to pay wages during their lockdown.
Yes.
Not so.
Yeah.
There was an article
which is,
today,
I think,
today as
very
well.
important. Which is very important that this point the government has clarified now.
So it says you cannot force. All that the government has done, they have written a request. They've issued an advisory. You can choose not to accept the request. But on humanitarian grounds, like we are asking our clients to pay various, we are paying all our staff. But some people actually cannot afford to do it, despite their best efforts. They don't have the cash flow. So the government has issued two things. One is a 20,000 crore fund called Fund of Funds, issued only yesterday. The other thing that the government has been requested by the MSME sector is ESI, which is the Employee State Insurance. They have over 70,000 crores lying in reserves.
Okay.
And the Employee Provident Fund has over 10 lakh crores lying in reserves. So what the government has been requested is they can use the fund, is basically the health insurance of India. So what they are asking, the contribution used to be 8%. From 8% it became 7%. 7% now it's at 6%. So the reason they're reducing the contribution is because they have enough cash flow coming in. So the government has been requested to use the ESI funds to help liquidate money so you can pay the wages for many people. But as of now, there is no clear-cut instruction that has come, no rule, no law that has come in. There are various lawyers on their, if you follow the LinkedIn page like Luthra and Luthra, Tri-Legal, Amarchand. They all have free notifications, free opinions on their page, on their LinkedIn page and on their website. So any advisory issued by the government, they have an opinion ready-made almost immediately across all sites for free. Normally, if you go to any of these lawyers, they'll charge you a package, for any of this. It's all available free of cost. So you can refer that.
I'd like to add one point regarding our fund status. Sorry, Angad. We have a lot of forex reserves right now, close to $400 billion. And with the oil price going down, these forex reserves are to purchase oil for India mostly. With the oil price going down, maybe we could use a portion of those forex reserves as well to kind of create an economic stimulus package, which I think would not be that detrimental to India right now. Use some of those forex reserves because oil has crashed from $70 a barrel at the start of the year to around $20 a barrel.
India is not a poor country by any standard or by any length of imagination. It's an extremely wealthy country. It has a large population of India who's poor. That's about it. And even that poverty line is increasing every year exponentially.
Yes.
Also in India, what is happening, which was not there many years ago, we have at least North India. I'm from North India. I can perhaps speak only mostly for North India. There's a very large, rich, populous hinterland from NCR. If you travel 100 to 150 kilometers around Delhi, very, very, very seldom you will find people below the poverty line. So the hinterland of India is increasing and growing. So India is not a poor country. Now, more developed countries, if I may say so, like Canada, UK, Italy, Spain, US, etc., they have already paid money into the company's accounts.
Yes.
Roughly, if I can calculate, to give you an idea, America, because one of my friends have got it, roughly he works in Oracle. He's a senior guy in Oracle. It's not that he needs a stimulus package. He gets a salary of roughly about $300,000 a year. He has been paid $3,500 in the last 1 month, despite him being an extremely wealthy person. So the government is understanding and delivering.
But is it actually understood in India also?
In India, they've given, in Uttar Pradesh, they've given 500 rupees.
So 500 rupees, you think, sorry, I mean, actually, you'll be backing up the government here, but in this day and age, 500 rupees. So I'll just put a full stop there.
Yeah.
No, I would like to make a point here. Let's also. I think we need to understand, and I'm not defending anyone here, but this is a situation which nobody in the government or in the bureaucracy or in the population has, in the current generation, have faced. There is
Yes.
there's no guidebook.
Benchmark.
If all hit and trial method, yes, we are a rich country. The poverty line is increasing or is changing every year, but I feel that the government will find innovative ways to find money which is already there in their accounts, which is just sitting idle. And I think eventually they will find ways to deploy it, maybe to people who actually need it. I think this is where, as a country or as a nation, we need to stand up. Is let innovation be. When you let the entrepreneurs or the young population grow and innovate, you will find that the problems are solved within the system. I'm sure somebody in the bureaucracy realize that there is money sitting in, say, PPF or PF or ESI accounts of the government, and it can be used in the short term to fill this gap. We recently had the pleasure of the RBI losing a case in the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court declared that cryptocurrency and trading on buying and selling is legal in this country. Now, by any way standard, that also comes under innovation. And I think if you let the population or the entrepreneurs of the country innovate, whether it's good or bad, you can create a framework to regulate that. But if you let innovation come out, I think a lot of problems will get solved on its own.
Which is true. Thanks, Prasad. I do see, I mean, at all levels, we see that after the whole pandemic is taken care of, the investment in the MSME sector will really, it's a question that lands online. Do you think that the pandemic, after the whole situation is solved, would the investments start coming in?
So would investments start coming in? It will. Basically, when an innovative MSME finds its product niche and its market segment, there's always going to be capital chasing good ideas and good execution. So definitely it will happen. And we probably will have, the last big financial crisis, a lot of big startups came out of it, Uber, Airbnb, all the lot. Maybe this could be the starting point of more innovative MSMEs to become big companies because they find their niche, they innovate, and then they become big because of that, because capital will chase good ideas and good execution.
So I think this is actually the time for innovation to happen, people to sit back home and actually their skill set is to bring it out into the market. After the few months, after the quarter or 3 quarters of finish, we all will get a chance to bring our points forward. I mean, I'm at least looking at it this way, that sit back and realize what is happening right now, show the innovative activities, and probably, yes, we will all not into it.
Well, there are a couple of questions which I'm going to answer. One is that there's a question by Priyanka. India is battling share population disparity between rich and poor. managing the daily wage labor, economic downfall, flattening the curve. In your opinion, how does India best handle the situation so that the whole system does not collapse? I think, Priyanka, a lot of measures the government has already taken, wherein they have ensured that the essential are going to be reaching the poor or those below the poverty line. Um, Apart from the money, which I don't agree with the amount which they have announced, but I think the fact that the rations which people below the poverty line receive has been doubled, and government is monitoring, that the food grain supply is present. Um, I think these are some of the measures in the short term they'll work. Also, I think the government should put in a measure or a channel to let the migrant labor return to their homeland if they are not suffering from the virus. I think because all of us will agree here, no matter what strata you are in or wherever you live, you do feel secure at home. I mean, you could live in your palace or in a one BHK house, but you do feel more secure or safe when you're in your own house. So I think that the government should let them, return to their homes.
But
I
it's
think
so
it'll.
insane, right? So if you never return back home, and how will industries like Rolex or Johann run? And then, like, even, I mean, they will not be able to operate even 30% of it. Yeah.
So I'm sure Johan and Angad will both agree that yes, this will, obviously throw a big challenge, in the industry where they need manpower to operate, and but also it throws a bigger challenge to keep them fed and to provide housing to them. I mean, if they are right now here and they need to be provided with housing, temporary housing right now, which Angad mentioned that they've had to hire
Exactly. As
guest houses.
owners of businesses are all doing that. The government needs to do some policy or so that the situation is serious. I mean, at the end of the day, we have only the way Angad explained earlier, like one will only be able to suffice and do the system only for a month or two max. After that,
So, Anshul, what we can do as companies is we can't pay salaries, but what we can help is by paying a sort of living wage to these people so that they can at least eat and survive the situation. So, if a person is earning 25,000 rupees, put aside maybe 5,000 rupees so that the person can eat and survive this pandemic. After that, when the market picks up, you manage your cash flow and start and restart your industry. That would be one way of doing it. Give them a living wage so that they can eat and not starve, but you can't pay the full salary definitely. The government is coming out with supportive measures for rental
again,
use.
coming to the same thing, that we are giving that 5,000, 10,000
Yeah.
people. But what will the government do for, an industry like so that they can sustain and they can come up quickly? What is the government really doing? 500 rupees? I'm sorry, not even that for a lot of people.
So the government has started giving out food at least in certain states.
There is a very, very fine line between the people who just need food and for the people who need slightly above food.
Right.
So, a medicine cost is, I mean, everybody is really talking about this COVID-19. What is happening to our, over 60 years population who is suffering from other kinds of problems? If a person who's earning 10,000 rupees or 15,000 rupees instead of 30,000 rupees, how is he going to run his house with two parents, with two children in the house, the wife not earning? How is that going to happen? So somebody in my office who's earning 20,000 rupees and he used to run his house with that, if I'm going to pay him 7,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees, how is he going to survive for the next 6 months?
See, if I may answer your question, I mean, I feel this, coming to me very often in the last few weeks. Most of what I've learned from this scenario is from the Tatas. because they are a very large client for us, is that they believe in being the larger fish and helping the smaller fish. Crudely put, they believe in being the bigger player and their moral responsibility to help the smaller player. And I think that is what is important.
So do you think that, as small scale, micro scale industries, people should start writing to them, like, as a group, like, should we actually start writing to them?
Yes, I think that's a fantastic idea.
Because otherwise, I don't think this micro scale industries will be able to survive together. However much they innovate, I mean, even if the business owners will survive, how will the people who are working under them at, small scale will not be able to bridge the gap?
So I'm hopeful in the next lockdown there'll be some leeway in the non-red areas, and that will hopefully enable us to kickstart certain areas of the economy. We spoke about value at the beginning of our discussion earlier today, and I can't stress on this even more because we have fellow interior designers and fashion designers with us. My mother was an interior designer, so I'm aware about the trade very, very little. So let's say work from home is the new norm, for example, for our employees, for us. We're looking at it a little myopically. Let's look at it from a larger lens. Let's look at it as if we are in September and looking backwards. If you're going to work at home every day of the week, or 5 days a week, or 4 days a week, or whatever the day could be, it's going to be for example, a huge reduction in usage of Ubers.
Yeah.
Ubers is basically used to ferry people in the morning and in the evenings, right? If this Uber and Ola businesses dying, auto industry, if auto industry starts regressing, your entire rubber manufacturers start regressing. Like tires give their rubber tires too. If JK tires start regressing, your largest component for Indian domestic use for steel is vehicles. Apart from construction, everything else is used in vehicles. So your steel industry gets damaged by a simple notion of working from home.
Yeah.
For example, while on the other hand, there's an opportunity for some. So there will be going to be an impact for many, but they will also give rise to a new sort of industry where work from home, it could help. Like, my house is certainly not designed work from home. Certainly not designed from any angle work from home. I've got a makeshift tool, and my laptop is sitting on my desk, and something else is on the sofa. It's completely not designed work from home.
Would you like to spend at this hour on making your home office?
So yes, so obviously, someone like me, if this becomes the new normal, then I am quite incapable of designing my home, but obviously someone else would have to help me in designing a more competent infrastructure for me to work. So this would give rise to another sort of value to be driven. Hence, now I see in this line, maybe interior designers will not be impacted from the commercial side, but on the residential
side. Absolutely. Yeah.
Whoever has network, who also has clients, who already has relationships, they'll be the first people to go to.
In fact, there's a question in the question and answers exactly pertinent to this discussion. And Shivani is asking that everyone is saying that real estate will be hit badly, but just as we understood the time, this is a comfortable time to work from home. And how can real estate developers based in South Delhi tap into this? I think it's looking at it from a positive approach, I think it's a great time for all of the interior design companies out there to reevaluate, starting from the most basic of things like the raw materials they use, the labor that they are, using, the kind of products they are making, manufacturing. So outsourcing. Amrit said that, if people don't have their manufacturing units, they need to outsource from local vendors, from the small shops that need to be encouraged. So I think that's a very humanitarian thing that we as brands and real estate developers, or any sort of interior design company should do, is that we should think about producing in India, making in India, kind of understanding how is it that we can support the most grassroots level of people. How can we start working with the local karkhanas, maybe even on the roadside shops, and it should all be utilizing our own capital, because now we know capital is very, very difficult to attain. So we should utilize our capital very valuable in a very valuable manner. And definitely the approach of importing containers from China for mass production of commercial spaces or residential spaces will definitely need to stop. And I, as an Indian citizen and an Indian brand, and I really would like to convince people to pledge that they should try to reduce their consumption from imported articles, or whether it's China, or whether wherever they are importing
Yeah.
their goods from, because this is not only causing the, I mean, this awakening is not only because of the pandemic. It is also the awakening that all the rubbish that is being created over the millions and millions of dollars that we've been, exporting out into different economies, that same money should be reinvested into our own country. And at the same time, the rubbish that we are creating, the bad raw materials that we're importing, that's all trickling down into the planet. I mean, we're not thinking about the global warming. We're not thinking about all the other big aspects. So I think it's a completely we have to reevaluate every single thing as a brand, as a purpose.
I agree. And, I think Rehan, you had mentioned earlier that localization will be a very, very big.
It's the only way forward now.
Yes.
Absolutely. Rehan,
Absolutely.
Yes.
And the thing is, how India needs to compete is not compete on China's terms, which is a commoditized manufacturing.
Exactly.
No,
We
not
have
at
to
all.
find a solution that is Indian,
Yeah.
leverage on our current assets, could be a service and a manufacturing together to give a solution, rather than
Absolutely.
competing with China. And maybe make in India and support make in India a lot more right now.
Absolutely. 100%.
I think
100%.
Make in India will receive a
Absolutely.
huge boost
Exactly.
after
Should
this.
encourage our
Virus is done.
craft people. We have textile. We have everything
Yeah,
that
we
need
have
to be there for
everything.
future and sustainability. We talk about
Exactly.
sustainability. Yet India has been producing cotton for years.
Khadi.
So
I
we
mean,
just don't need to go
since Mahatma
anywhere. We
Gandhi.
just need
Yeah.
to look back to ourselves, go back to basics.
Absolutely.
Start everything from scratch and come back to what our country is good at.
Exactly.
Our country is very good at craft. So we just need
Exactly.
to look back there.
Like Angad had mentioned, that India is a very, very wealthy country, and it's not only because of our financial assets or whatever other assets.
Yes, I
Our
agree.
heritage and our craft and our artisanal quality, I think we need to reevaluate everything in our lives at this point. We need to understand that we have to look within ourselves and try to encourage whatever strata of the society we can, and whether it's craft or art or medical sciences or everything. I mean, Ayurveda, look at Ayurveda, the way the immunity, immunity booster, everybody's talking about the Indian way of our immunity. We are lucky to have it for over these years to be able to survive the pandemic. So I think we have to start looking within as a country, and I think that's probably the only positive solution for all brands on the board.
So,
All
Krishna,
companies.
we're talking about all these industries working from Make in India and work from home. So do you have any insight on, how the digital world and the financial world will work? Like, for people who are working from home, and how are we paying our salary?
So, very interestingly, what Angad had mentioned earlier in the session was that, how banks are still open or branches need to be serviced or not. We operate in, the cryptocurrency space. And one of the very unique innovations of cryptocurrency is that there is no human interaction. It doesn't require a physical branch, or a banking infrastructure, as they say, the old conventional way to do transactions. Like I mentioned earlier, we have seen a jump in number of transactions being done, and these are essentially the young population or the millennials who have realized that using cryptocurrency or maybe even Bitcoin or Pi, which is a new coin, is easier than exposing themselves to go to a bank branch and carry out transaction, which I mean, as we all know, bank branches are operating currently because they are essential services. I think this is where we need to understand, and we need to let the government, or the message should go, or platform interaction should happen between the industry and the government, that there are a huge industry where you can reduce manpower, where you can deploy automation even more, and that means adopting new technology or unknown technology, which sadly, the Indian government or the RBI looked at with a lot of suspicion as cryptocurrency. But in a pandemic like this, when everything is shut and there's fear that you can catch the virus, I think it is a great solution. Without moving out, there is a payment system available which operates at a minuscule level of, say, infrastructure deployment.
So you can actually say that, I think we're all hesitant, in our early times, that how are we going to keep it back in? I mean, eventually, salaries will be able to be paid in online currency.
Yeah, I mean, I think the lot of people, are fearful because they don't understand how this technology operates. And I think as an industry, we need to educate even more. That yes, I mean, it comes with the challenges, and we all know that frauds can happen wherever digitization is there. But if you look at the number of frauds which have happened in cryptocurrency space, it is still negligible or minuscule compared to the number of frauds which happen in the banking industry. And because of digitization, it is only increasing in the banking industry. Because in the banking industry, what is happening is only after a leak has happened or a fraud has happened, a lot of times they realize that they're vulnerable, and then they plug it. I mean, it's a reactive way of working. Whereas in cryptocurrency, the technology is being developed. It has been tested extensively. It's been around now for a number of years. Um, yes, the leaks can happen because of third party, which again can happen in any digital space, but it is nothing compared to the banking industry.
Right.
Small
Okay.
percentage.
Um, yeah, Priyanka has another question. A lot of countries are looking at other manufacturing opportunities apart from China. Example, Japan has clearly announced to slowly reduce dependence on China and looking at other countries. It's a great time for India and its MSME industry to adapt.
I think Anahad has answered that.
Yeah, I just answered that.
Yes.
I think it's a great time. I feel that India is going to see a huge boost because
Yes.
a lot of other countries, that were looking to import stuff from China are now going to look at India to do the same
Yes.
thing. So
Yes.
I think it's a very conscious effort that it's not only within our country, it's a worldwide phenomena that's going to take place, is that people are going to find an alternate vendor or an alternate supplier, which has already been, which over the years has been China,
Yes.
is now going to be coming to India, and in all
Yes.
industries, not only the MSMEs, it's going to be, I mean, at
Yeah.
all levels of the
Yeah.
economy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So I think we should strengthen our base in
absolutely.
next 2 quarters and probably then globalization. Yes, there we are.
100%.
So I think we should tap international markets after say 2 to 3 quarters.
So our learnings, because what Indians have is called jugaad, right? Our
Yes.
learning, we can export it post this, but let us learn in the next 2 quarters. And then when we export that, I think we'll definitely be able to capture more market. Sure.
We'll be back in business in no time. I'm very, very certain about it.
Right. Okay, I think we have a lot of answers to a lot of questions now. So can we just take like one-liners from everybody and then we can wrap it up?
Sure.
Okay, so Angad, what do you want to say about
I knew you would come to me because it's always ladies first. So I'm used to that. But yes, just to sum up very quickly, I do see some light at the end of the tunnel. I do see that there are tough times ahead. We have to ride this through. Most important for any industry, any sector, any individual is you must have cash in the bank, whatever it could be, excess amount, less amount, whatever works for you. I think that's the most important tip I can give you as a business owner from our industry is you must have cash in the bank. We are hopeful to get some good news from the government that will help us make our ride a little smoother. And the focus will be towards a new normal, and focus will be towards everything, a lot of things moving online. That's my focus.
Digitization.
And thank you all for inviting me, and hopefully I've contributed marginally to a esteemed panelist. Thank you.
Okay, Amrit, can we have a line from you?
Yes, of course. I think we should all need to be very positive. As an artist, being myself, I think this is a time for me to, think innovatively, encourage my craftsmen, because we are all depending on them. So if they are disappointed or disheartened, we can't have creativity at our end. So we just need to look at the productive solution right now we have in our house and personally also. Yeah, this is what I feel personally.
Wonderful.
Anhad, let's hear from you.
Okay, so to wrap it up, it's been a pleasure with hearing everyone's thoughts all across the industries. And I think for us, we have to just focus and look within, first of all. I think we all need to reevaluate our own intentions and our purpose with which we're trying to, run a business. I think that is the most important part. We need to reevaluate our purpose as a brand. And second of all, we definitely need to be patient. All projects are going to take time to complete, all payments are going to take time to come in, so patience is a key. And definitely the most important is positivity. Like Amrit said, without a positive and a hopeful attitude, we'll not be able to survive this. So I think I encourage everyone to be grateful for all that we have, and be positive that everything will be great in time. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Yuhan, coming to you, we have a question for you also very quickly. How will the jewelry business be affected?
So there are two aspects to jewelry. One is the rare jewelry segment, where now that becomes a luxury, though it could still pertain to aspiration. Maybe what will happen is the amount spent on jewelry will reduce, so people have to make lighter pieces of jewelry more fashionable and not the so-called investment pieces. Fashion jewelry will definitely recover because, as you said, and everybody agrees, sometimes spending makes you feel better, and when you feel
Happier.
better, you tend to work better and try to be more productive as well. As for what I think is going to happen is, because everybody agrees that capital is going to become very scarce, we should be more efficient with capital. So we should be looking at partnerships and technology to enable us more. And we have to get our labor to be more productive. So everything goes down, fixed costs go down, and we become more nimble and lean as organizations.
Great. Okay. So, Tushar, what can we hear from you?
I would like to quote, Warren Buffett here. In order to succeed, you must survive first. And I think as a nation, we will not just survive, we will thrive. And we will definitely come out on the other side in a big way. I think the world is already looking at India to, what we're doing to contain this virus. I think as an industry, as individuals, we need to now create value bit by bit and steadily just go ahead into the future and adopt new technologies and create new platforms, innovate. And I think out of innovate, byproducts will be what Anga said, what Johan said. You will become cash rich. You will create more savings. You will create more value for your client, for your industry. And I think that's the only way looking ahead. You have to stay positive, and you can't just survive. You have to thrive. As human beings for millions of years, we've done that. And I think that's not going to change. We are going to become even better at it.
Great. So, the only thing that I would like to say is that we all need to approach the government with some kind of leverage or some kind of help for the micro. Small and medium will. We need your help on that. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.